In this episode of the Church Security Roll Call, we're going to be discussing creating a training schedule. Stay tuned. Hi, this is Chris with the Sheepdog Church Security Academy, and this is your Church Security Roll Call. Today is a special program where we're going to be covering creating a training schedule. Now, this is something that you could be doing just for yourself, planning ahead, thinking through, being deliberate with your training, or it could be something you're doing for your entire safety team. And so let's get right into it. So if you were with us last week, we talked about the recommended minimum training for safety team members. And it was a good program. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It's really going to help you because we do discuss what is the minimum. What do we have to do to ensure that our team members and ourselves are fully prepared, or as prepared as we can reasonably be, for the types of emergencies we're going to see in and around the church. So now what we want to do is we want to kind of continue on with that thought process. Last week it was all about getting the download, filling out the training record for yourself and your team members, and start to identify those things that need to get done. Now let's put together the training schedule. So the first step, of course, is getting a calendar. Now, a lot of us use different calendars, probably a lot of electronic ones out there. I like Google Calendar. I'm sure iPhone has their version of it. Sometimes low tech is the best tech, as far as just getting yourself a calendar. Maybe it's a wall calendar, maybe it's a desk calendar. But what we want to do is we want to look at that calendar and through a process of elimination, try to find out what are going to be our best training days. So one of the things that I do right off the bat is I eliminate the entire summer. So that's basically June, July, and August. I plan almost no training during that time because my personal experience through working with hundreds of churches and my own team is this, is people have vacations, they got family plans, kids are home from school, there's all kinds of things going on, and any sort of training is really hard to do. There is one exception to that. The one exception is something that might be extra fun. So a fun shoot at the range, maybe some tactical shoot, maybe it's some force-on-force training at the church. Those things people tend to come to because it's fun and they want to enjoy it. But other than that, I'm totally eliminating the summer. The next thing that I'm doing is I'm basically eliminating Monday through Friday. Now, usually a lot of churches have things that go on during the week, so maybe you got a midweek service, so you're going to be there working, so you can't train on that day. The other days, it's either the beginning of the week or the end of the week. People are either gearing up for the weekend or they're just starting their work week. They're just not in the mood for training. I've never been successful with evening training with maybe one exception, and that is when I've been brought in prior to the start of the year and I'm teaching and I'm speaking to like the ushers. And they've had times when it's like, hey, it's going to be a Tuesday at 7 o'clock and we need you to come in and talk for 30 minutes about their role in the safety ministry. So I've done that for ushers. I've done that for children's ministry, but for the most part for my team, I just eliminate those days. The next thing that I eliminate is I eliminate any holiday weekends. So Mother's Day, Easter, the weekend closest to Thanksgiving, the weekend closest to Christmas, the weekend closest to New Year's. I'm eliminating all of those weekends because, once again, it's going to be lots of family, other things going on. We just can't do it. The next thing that I'm going to eliminate is any large church events. So now you need the church calendar. Sorry about that. Now you need the church calendar to look and see if the church has any major events occurring that is either going to require the safety team to work, probably going to be, larger items that we're just going to have to take those events off. Now, a little caution there is this. Some churches have things going on every single weekend during the school year. And if you were to eliminate every single weekend when there's something there, you would have no days left. So obviously, you got to find that threshold of between this is a big event, so we're not going to be training, versus a medium-sized event that we have to train. So anyway, so we've eliminated all of those things. Now we have the weekends available to us to start training. Now, let me just do something real quick. I'm going to pull up the training record. That's also going to be available again this week for you to download down in the description. Just jump down there and you can sign up, and I'll talk more about that here in a minute, but basically it'll be in the video description where you can see that link. But anyway, let me share this screen here with you. All right. Hopefully this is working the way it's supposed to. So what you see here is now we have to plug in these training events into those weekends. Now, depending on the size of your team, it might depend on, on how, if you're going to be able to group some of these things together. So to give you a good example is this. We have to find a Saturday that maybe we're going to be out at the range for the full day or a good portion of the day. And depending on the size of your team, you might be able to do your firearms qualification and your tactical shooting on the same day. Now, once again, it depends on how many instructors you have available. It depends on, if this is a outdoor range, indoor range, how many lanes do you actually have? How many students do you actually have? What's your grading process? All that kind of thing. I found that for my smaller team, I've been able to have firearms qualification kind of in the morning and then do the tactical shoot in the afternoon, and we were able to do that in one day. Moving on from there, I found with a smaller team that I was able to bring somebody in for like a 3-hour unarmed self-defense kind of seminar where we're getting some hands-on, and then going into less lethal weapons, and then doing a basic use of force laws review. Now, when I do this review here, this is maybe an hour max. This is simply we're reading the law and we're talking about how it might be applied, different kinds of scenarios to give people an understanding of what our local state law says about use of force. Less than lethal, that's pepper spray. I've said in the past, I like the Saber product. Saber has a water shooting product where people can, get a little hands-on training with that device without, spraying people with pepper spray. And then unarmed self-defense, I kind of covered that. Now, once again, what you can get in on your schedule really depends on the size of your team. Some of your teams that might be 20, 30, 40 team members, getting qualification done on a Saturday might be all you can do. And then another Saturday for tactical shooting and so on and so forth. Next thing is first aid CPR. Even though this is something we only need every 2 years, it seems like you still have to run it every year for people that need to get it done. And so I would go ahead and plan this out right off the bat at the beginning of the year, get this on the calendar, call around, find that instructor who's going to come in, get as many people on your team to show up on that day as possible, unless, of course, their certification is still good. I also think it's wise to open this up to ushers, children's ministry, staff, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the instructors that do this, what makes them want to come to your church to do this is because they're going to be training a larger group of people, and so it's worth their time. Next thing is safety member certification. That's, of course, our certification product. One of the things I want to talk to you about this, for so many of you that are doing this, I want to give you some hints, some clues, some tricks, if you will, of how to make this work. One of the ways, you might not know this, but one of the things that you can do after each one of these individual modules are done online, they can generate a certificate. And so if you're the leader, one of the things that you could do is say, hey, at the end of September, everyone needs to turn in the safety team fundamentals certificate and make that at the deadline, the last Sunday of that month. But one of the things you need to do is you need to do what's called, it's kind of called the halftime check-in. So a halftime check-in is simply this, let me pull up let me pull up a calendar to kind of give you an idea of how this works. And this is my personal calendar. Let's go to the month view. All right, and we'll go into September. So I'm going to share the screen over here. So you can see now, this is September. This is my personal calendar mixed with my Sheepdog calendar, but there's nothing secret on there. But anyway, to give you kind of an idea, let's say we're saying, all right, we want everyone to have their training certificate turned in by the last Sunday of September. So it's going to be the 24th. Well, you as the leader, what you're going to want to do is halfway through, so it's 4 weeks away, halfway through, you're going to check in on them. You're going to check in on everyone who hasn't turned in their certificate. That means you're going to call them and say, hey, I just wanted to touch base with you, make sure that you have your certificate turned in, as soon as possible, blah, 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 especially by the end date. Are you having any problems signing into your account? Are you having any problems with the materials? That kind of thing. Then what you do is the next half time is 1 week away, right? So we divided 4 weeks up, 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks, it's divided up, so it's 1 week later. You're contacting them again a week later saying, hey, you're only contacting people who haven't turned in their certificate. You're checking in with them and saying, hey, you got it done? Yes, no, all that good stuff. Then the ones that still haven't turned in, you're going to half that again. So that means the checking in on them Wednesday, giving them a call. Hey, just letting you know it's got to be done, turned in this coming Sunday, blah, blah, blah. Let's get it done. And then on the Sunday, anyone who hasn't turned in, you're done. We do not nag adults to get their training done. And then we move on to the next one. Hey, the next course, active shooter, has to be done by the end of October. And then you're going to do the same thing. You start all over again. 2 weeks in, you're going to call everyone who hasn't turned in their certificate. 1 week later, you're going to call everybody who hasn't turned in their certificate. 3 days later, or on Wednesday, you're going to contact everyone who hasn't turned in their certificate. And then you're going to keep on going course after course after course after course until you've gone through all 8 modules, all 8 courses with them. As far as people that don't turn it in, like I said, after that last time we've contacted them about turning in their certificate, we don't bring it up again until it's maybe been 3-4 months where they haven't turned anything in. And at that point, you're going to have to sit down, talk to them. Is there something going on in their life? Something that's going on with their computer, something that's beyond their control, and try to make a gauge on helping them get through that training, or possibly, suggesting that maybe the safety team is not right for them. And so that's just a good way of keeping on top of your people. It sounds crazy, we're all adults and theoretically, we shouldn't have to keep up on people, but it's human nature. I was a company commander. I started out as enlisted, made it through E6 staff sergeant. I've been leading people for a long time, and I've just learned that even adults need a little bit of push, a little nudge to keep them on track. So that's kind of it. Let me just kind of show you this again. This is going to be the freebie again. Go down into the comment section of the YouTube video. If you didn't already get a copy of it, get a copy of it, because even if you're not going to use it as it was originally intended to be, as a training record, so you can keep good training records on everybody on your team, you could still use it to think about what is the minimum training you need and what things need to be plugged in to your calendar. And so make sure that you get a copy of that. When you click on the link that's going to be in the video description, it's going to bring you over to, there we go, this page. Simply just put in your email address, click Get Download, and then the download will be emailed to you. So, and then you can print it off. It's a PDF. You'll be able to print it off, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. So one other thing I want to kind of leave you with is this, is we have begun open enrollment. It's been going on for a little while now. And we're offering a 25% discount on basically everything. And so if you're kind of going through this process, you're identifying what training you need, what your team members need. Now you're putting together your training schedule. It's a good time to look at what we have to offer to get people trained up. These are your fundamental things that we've talked about in the past as far as, like security team fundamentals, active shooter response, de-escalating disruptive people, protecting children from abuse, use of force laws, arson and fire safety, storms and disasters, mass trauma emergency. And then the other thing you'll see is as you're putting your schedule together is for the people that like to train with me on Sundays, 3 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to be teaching one of these courses. I show the exact same videos people training on their own computer would see, but I'm there to answer questions and lead discussion. So here's the schedule for that, and you can, if you're putting together your training schedule, you can kind of consider this. Something we haven't talked about yet for people that go through the team safety member certification. This Zoom link that's, you've purchased for the team, it's not just for your safety team. It's also for people in other ministries. So that's the children's ministry. That's the ushers. That's the door greeters. And you can share these links, the Zoom link that you would be getting with those other ministries, and they can jump in on these classes to learn what they need to learn. Basically they're auditing the course, and they can just sit in. I say a code word during the training. So example, I might say the code word is dog. And so all the people in the children's ministry now call the ministry director of the children's ministry and says, hey, I was at the training, code word is dog. And now they can write down that person sat through the training, that they were there for that. But other than that, I know that's a lot of information. We've gone through a lot of things. Make sure you catch the last video. Make sure you get this download. And then I would highly encourage you to sign up while we have open enrollment going on. Like I said, it's a 25% discount, and it at least takes one more thing off your plate, right? I mean, if you look at that document and all the training that you got to get done this year, and you got to get done every year, this is just the easy button for you where they can train on their own time, own computer, or they can join me on Sunday afternoons. And for that basic stuff, for those courses that we discussed, that's taken care of. And so you can kind of just keep on people, keep good records. Other than that, you're done with it. At least you can focus then on range time and first aid CPR and all these other kind of things that have to be done. So thank you so much for being here this week. And hey, let's be careful out there. This program is made for informational purposes only and should not be taken as legal advice.